Welcome to part 2, photosynthesis. We are going to be going into greater detail on the process of photosynthesis. Up until this point, we've talked about it in general terms. We've talked about how plants make their food. It takes place in the mitochondria. It's an energy conversion from light energy, radiant energy, into chemical bond energy. So how does that happen? It's a really, really cool, amazing, mind-boggling thing. We're going to go into a little more detail, not terribly much detail, because, well, it's complicated. You're going to find out it's complicated. So here we go. Split into two parts here. So there's the photo part of photosynthesis, or the light reaction. And then the synthesis part is the dark reaction, also referred to as the light independent reaction, to try not to introduce the misnomer that it takes place at night. It takes place all the time. It just doesn't require light. So photo for the light requirement, and then synthesis means to make something. So we're going to use the energy that we captured, the plants captured from the light, to make something. So here the general outline. We're going to go into more detail and take time as we go through here. So don't get too overwhelmed by this. But in the photo part, the light reaction, energy is trapped by the chloroplasts. The chlorophyll absorbs that energy from the sun. The energy is then used to split a water molecule, which is made out of hydrogen and oxygen. So we split the hydrogen and oxygen, the transformation of light energy into chemical energy by the end of the light reaction. However, that chemical energy at the end of the light reaction isn't the end of the journey. It needs to be turned into something more stable. We talked about this previously, and maybe we didn't. It depends on the order in which we watch these videos. It needs to be converted into something more stable, that glucose molecule. So in the synthesis reaction, the energy that was generated in the light reaction is being used to construct a glucose molecule using the chemical energy to combine carbon dioxide and water. And now we've got glucose there.
All right, so the light reaction, I apologize. My dog is very excited about photosynthesis, so he may bark from time to time to add his commentary. Oh, there he goes. He's growling. He's like, don't talk about me like that. Okay, so the light reaction, or the
is he saying that photosynthesis can be rough?
Oh, so punny. Is that what you're saying? He's just looking at me. Yeah, he's looking at me with just such hatred of you in his eyes. He doesn't even know you, but he's just like, seriously, man?
I heard that joke. I hate that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, okay. So the light reaction, or the photo part of photosynthesis, yes, indeed, takes place in the chloroplast, or the green part of the plant, right? We've talked about chloroplast before, back in the organelles unit. And so, as we said, the sun comes in, that radiant energy is trapped in those chlorophyll molecules. So we can see down here a nice chloroplasts here, basically trapping in that energy. Yes, it is quite fascinating, Truman. And so in a series of reactions, which we won't go into here, the trapped sunlight is then converted into chemical energy in the form of ATP, again, our energy molecule, and other energy carriers. So that is the light reaction part of photosynthesis.
Got a question for you, Ms. Ripley. Your dog is named Sherman?
Truman, like the president, or the Truman Show.
I was hoping it was Sherman, like as in Sherman and Peabody.
No, that'd be a good name, though.
Yeah, you have to remember
missed
that.
Opportunity.
Future dog. All right.
Future dog.
So the light reaction, guys. I'm gonna go into this. I might put in a little drawing in the middle of this here, but what's really cool is this taking place in the chloroplast up here. Okay, in these little. Gotta move my pictures in the way. Light's coming in. The green light gets reflected out, which is why it looks green. But it uses all these other wavelengths of light in these chloroplasts, and that energy, those photons coming in, and with the chlorophyll chemical in the chloroplast, is used to basically take a water molecule and break it apart. Okay, so when you break water apart, you get hydrogen ions and oxygen gas, right? The O2. So you get these oxygen gas, and that oxygen gas just floats away. That's where the oxygen produced by photosynthesis by plants comes from, is from this very first step in the photosynthesis reaction, breaking water in half. So the oxygen floats away. What happens to that hydrogen? That hydrogen starts to build up inside these thylakoids there. It's building up in there more and more and more. It's like just bursting, trying to get out, okay? You can think of this like water behind a dam, right? You build up more and more water behind that. This is the dam, okay? More and more water behind the dam, and that water's pushing on the dam, wants to get through, and it can't. So what we do is there is literally an enzyme in that dam, okay, of the chloroplast, that cell membrane there, that plasma membrane of the chloroplast. And when water passes through it, it works just like a water wheel on an old-fashioned mill, right? That water wheel, the water would turn it as it flowed down, like water over the dam, and would turn that water wheel, and that would move machinery in the mill, which would, you know, pound things or sew things or whatever it was that mill was doing, grinding corn. But what it does here is it actually takes an ADP, adenosine diphosphate, which we may or may not have talked about, but it's got adenosine with 2 phosphorus on it, and it takes a 3rd phosphorus, and it literally physically grabs that extra phosphorus and smashes it onto the other one. So now we got adenosine triphosphate with 3. Okay. And that extra chemical bond holding this last phosphate on is stored chemical energy. It's really cool. Now that energy, it's not super stable, so it's not going to last for days or years, but it will last for a number of hours. So we can use it in the next step in the dark or synthesis reaction or the light independent reaction. So in summary, the light reaction result is light energy is transformed from that light radiant energy, gets transformed into chemical bond energy in the form of ATP. And there's some other ones too, but we're not going to make you memorize the names of some of the other ones. This next picture here, guys, just kind of shows a little bit what goes on here. I'm just going to ignore all this stuff here. That's some of the other energy carriers we were talking about. We're not going to mess with, but you can see here, this is outside and this is inside. Light comes in, hits this chlorophyll, boom, right there.
Outside,
that energy.
Outside, inside, just for reference here, we're talking the chloroplast, we're talking the thylakoid.
The thylakoid's in the chloroplast.
There we go.
Yeah. Sorry. Yep. So here's that water. And the energy from the light hitting right here causes that water to get broken in half. There's the oxygen. And the oxygen is just going to kind of float away. The hydrogens, though, you see how we're building up a whole bunch of hydrogens in here? Lots of hydrogens. Let's say all these dots are hydrogens, like water behind the dam. Okay? Now that water runs through here. That hydrogen wants to get out, so it flows out. The cell gives a place, not the cell, the chloroplast gives a place for this water to flow out, and it flows past this apparatus here. It kind of looks like that too. Proteins, remember, are little molecular machines, and their job, is to move and do things. And when it does that, it literally grabs an ADP and a P, smashes them together to make ATP, which is an energy-carrying molecule, and then the hydrogen can leave. And that's where we get that. Come on, clear all drawings. There we go. And that's where we're able to get the ATP to power the dark reaction, which is next. But first, one of my favorite cartoons, I'll read it to you. It says, "Never forget," right there, and it tells you the year 65 million BC. And we got a Tyrannosaurus there saying, "Save yourselves, mammal. We will fend off the asteroids." And you can see one of our little ancestors running away. So we owe our lives to the dinosaurs. They took the brunt of the asteroid for us. Not really. I just thought that cartoon was super funny. All right. But then again, I think this is funny.
I was saying you are the comical one of the group, obviously. So.
So this is, again, depending on the order in which you are viewing these videos, you may have already seen the information regarding ATP and ADP. If that is the case, what you can do is skip ahead. There'll be some red slides coming up here in a little bit. You can skip over those red slides if you've already seen that detailed information about ATP, ADP before. If you haven't, stick around, watch those slides, get that information. It's going to be essential. You need it one way or the other. We're just not sure in which order these are going to come at you. So make sure you've watched the red slides. And then we're going to do a quick little recap here if you did watch them previously, so that we kind of refresh our memory. So skip red if you've already talked ATP, ADP. Stick around, watch red if you haven't.
So ATP is the currency of life. All living things use ATP as their primary energy molecule. And ATP stands for adenosine, there's the A, tri, there's the T, and phosphate, there's the P. What does tri mean, guys?
It means that you are going to attempt to do something, but you'll likely fail.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No, try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
Spelling with an I this time, Kemeter.
I tried to do something and I failed. I'm sorry. No, it's like a tricycle, right? A tricycle has how many cycles? It has tri. There's 3 of them. Tri means 3. Oh, Miss Snow.
Oh, how you doing?
Hey.
Glad to have you with us. We are talking about energy in cells. Adenosine triphosphate is an adenosine molecule bonded to one, bonded to another, bonded to a third phosphorus molecule or phosphate molecule. So we got adenosine with 3 phosphate molecules, and as we learned earlier, we can store energy in these chemical bonds. So this last chemical bond's got quite a bit of energy available in there. It's kind of, you can think of it like a charged battery. If you have ATP, it's like a battery in our phones, all charged up, 100%, ready to go. Going to give us the energy we need. Now there's another form called adenosine diphosphate, where we've got the D for di. Kemeter, what does that mean?
Well, di, just di, not DIE, means 2.
Exactly. So adenosine diphosphate is an adenosine with 2 phosphoruses. So it's got one less, it's missing this last chemical bond, which means, does it have more or less energy stored than ATP? Ripley?
I'm gonna go, I think maybe less, but Kemeter also said less, so I don't know if I can trust that answer anymore.
Yeah, so it's got less. ADP, adenosine diphosphate, we can think of it as an uncharged battery. It's your phone just about out of juice. It might have a little bit in there, but not much you can use for making a call or anything. It just doesn't have that third bond on there, that third phosphate. So it's not having that energy. Glucose has more energy than ATP. It's a larger energy molecule, right? But ATP has more energy than ADP. Just kind of give you the thing. So it's glucose, then ATP, then ADP, down nice and low. Raise my hands up so you can see it, as far as the amount of energy in each of them. So here we can just kind of give a little visual of it. So ATP can power processes and reactions by releasing one of its 3 phosphates. So when you break that bond, that energy gets released. Okay, so I'll do that here. So we got, it's kind of like a charged battery. You use it, the energy gets released, and it gets turned into ADP. Okay, adenosine diphosphate. Okay, which is what's left over when you got ATP. So down here we can see that we got, here's our adenosine molecule right here, and then over here we have 3 phosphoruses attached to it. If I break off that last phosphorus, it produces energy, but leaves us with ADP, just 2 of those. So we have that last bond is like this. Here's the second phosphorus. Here's that third phosphorus. If I break it, I can release the energy. So I went from AT, triphosphate, to AD, diphosphate. Visual, Mr. Kemeter?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Mr. Hamele, and I'm asking for a friend. If ATP is turned into ADP, is that ADP then just, it's stuck as ADP forever?
No, that ADP through the processes that we're going to be talking about here is recharged through the process of cellular respiration. So that's kind of why we're talking about this here. It is the battery in the phone. You can use the energy up and then you can recharge it. So using the energy up is like running a marathon or shaking your head. Miss Knoll, do you want to do some jumping jacks with us to show us for us?
No.
No fun. So she's using up energy, and then when we go through cellular respiration, we can take the energy that's in the glucose and we can charge our battery back up. to get the energy back in there. That's what cell respiration is all about. It's about charging up these little adenosine diphosphate batteries into charged adenosine triphosphate batteries.
Wow. So you're saying by adding the phosphate back on, we can recharge it like a battery. My friend will be happy to know.
Feels like I'm watching an episode of Degrassi Junior High.
That's what we need to do for our next note session.
That'd be awesome.
So quick little recap, ATP, ADP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, 3 phosphates. ADP stands for adenosine diphosphates, 2 phosphates. And the difference between them, ATP has those 3 phosphates out there. Each of the 3 phosphates and the bonds holding them together, energy is stored. So we think of ATP like a charged battery. Your cell phone's all the way up to the max, lots of energy available. And that energy can be used by your cell to do work. That's how you get stuff done. And the way that you get access to that energy is by breaking off one of the phosphates. And then energy is released, and your body harnesses that energy to do work, move things, make things, build things, whatever it might be, break things down. And what's left over then is an adenosine with 2 phosphates. So that's the ADP that's left over. That ADP can be recharged, just like the battery in your phone, to form ATP again by adding that phosphate back on. And that happens in that photo part of photosynthesis. So
Yeah, the photo part took that water wheel looking thing where the hydrogens were flowing past it, took these ADPs along with an extra phosphorus, whoa, wrong way, and smashed another one on there, physically smashed it together. It wasn't like some fancy chemical thing. It was like, no, grab this, grab that, and you're good. So that is ATP.
All right, so we covered the photo or the light reaction part of photosynthesis. Now onto the synthesis or the dark or light independent reaction.
thank
So
you
this
for
is also
being
happening
politically
in,
correct on that one.
I got to cover all my bases, you know, maybe you've heard it by this name or that name, the slang, you know, all of those. That's all one
What's
thing
the
right
slang for the dark reaction?
here. The DR. I don't know.
The Sith
I don't know. I don't know what the kids are saying. Anyway, so it's also happening in the chloroplast, the green plant tissue, and in a series of complicated, just as we said, complicated reactions. Sugar, remember good old glucose, right? 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, 6 oxygens, is built out of carbon dioxide. So think back to, again, the equation we had for photosynthesis. Remember that CO2 was kind of an important player, right, in some of our reactions there. And so building this and putting these molecules together, we need some energy. So where does this energy come from? Well, we just started talking about this molecule ATP and how we can basically use the energy in the bonds of ATP and some of those other energy carriers that we've mentioned, but won't go into detail on, from that light reaction. So that's kind of how these connect to one another, is we're taking in that sunlight, converting that energy in the light reaction, and now we can use that energy to produce glucose. So that is the final kind of result of our dark reaction, is that we formed glucose from our carbon dioxide. It's like magic, but it's science.
Dark magic.
Dark magic, there you go.
There's a video.
Independent magic, please.
There's a video in the Google Slides by the Amoeba Sisters, which was a really nice overview or review of what we've just talked about. I highly encourage you to watch it if you have the time, but we're going to just skip on.
That's me skipping.
So just to wrap up the slightly more complex version of photosynthesis, basically what happens? So sunlight hits the plant, hits that chloroplast.
We're gonna all do our own interpretive dance.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
So here we go. So sunlight hits the plant, hits that chloroplast and the chlorophyll, and is used to break water apart. And then that hydrogen spins the the water wheel and makes ATP, which we then use in the dark reaction to make glucose. And to sum it all up, can't concentrate with you guys doing that. To sum it all up.
We're helping. We're creating visuals.
Okay, sure you are. So sum it up, photosynthesis uses light, water, and carbon dioxide. The light and water get used in the light reaction. The carbon dioxide gets used in the dark reaction to make glucose and oxygen. Oxygen gets made in the light reaction. Glucose gets made in the dark reaction. And it all happens in the chloroplast with chlorophyll. And that will do it for this section of the notes. Catch you guys on the dark side.